Yeah, and so I want to ask a little bit about. And I know Jr. You guys, Brad said you guys don't do much subprime, but I do want to ask something about that because I've been dealers have been asking me about it and kind of keeping our ear to the ground and talking about it a little bit. But before I do, I want to maybe throw this out there and John, ask you. I think this always. I was talking to one of the things in marketing dealers ask. Sometimes when they get to the end when they're getting ready to sign up, they go, well, what percentages of this is new? And what percentage of the, customers you see come in are used? And I always, I answer the question. It's usually 65, 35, whatever used to new with some of the programs we do. Well, I think the reason they're asking, they want to know, but I often tell them, I don't really know, right? When you're doing advertising, for instance, John, I don't really think that any customer sets out to buy something used necessarily if they could have something new. It's not a bad thing. Like, if a phone, if I said, hey, you want to buy my used phone or do you want to buy a new one? I don't think that you're going to necessarily try to buy a used one. You're going to want something that no one's had. So I think that, they get switched a lot of times to pre-owned. Talk a little bit about that too. I don't think that people maybe think that as much sometimes. They don't. We understand it, we know it, but do we really, think that a customer, if they're given a choice, but a lot of times credit comes into play. A lot of times, maybe, down payment or whatever, price. Talk about that, John, a little bit when it comes to maybe marketing and how a customer thinks when it comes to new versus used.
Dave, you and I have had this conversation a lot, and it times, when you're driving traffic for us or we do the Facebook things or whatever it is, you and I always have the same conversation. Once you drive them to the door, you did your part, right? It's upon us as the dealer to not get mad at you if the sale didn't go well. It kind of landed on us. And I think one of the hardest things that we find in teaching our current sales force is to get off the website and get away from that at that point, because we quit walking the lot. And take it from a guy that's been doing this for 40 years. If you start walking and I think we've got that car. Let's go see. I think I may have a different color. You will get asked 5 questions about 5 different cars between here and that other color. And sometimes as dealers, we've lost sight of that over the years. And you start looking at what they really bought as opposed to what they came in for. Guys, it's less than 50% of the time, unless the guy truly is an internet guy and he wants blue and he did all the research and he did that. But the general guy that you said, Dave, like that's looking, I need to be $300 a month. I need to put $2,000 down. I need to seat 7 people. That's a little bit of a different capture.
Yeah.
And you're exactly right. And you've got to plan for that. And you've got to teaching your BDC and everybody else to try and plant that seed. Folks, we stock over 700 cars between new and used, 300 here, 400 there. It rotates daily. I have auctions. I have access. Selling that fact of, look, if you'll just come deal with me, I'll find what you're looking for. We'll fill that itch. I'll make it work. And then you're right. You're going to land one way or the other. And then you're right. You landed them on the new. It's exactly what they wanted, but you can't get it hooked. So, folks, I got to flip you back the other way. It's educating and learning how to do that and planting that seed.
And it's a style. That's sales. And JR, it's interesting because you guys may not, and according to Brad, may not do a ton of subprime, but for somebody that doesn't do subprime, that sometimes people who don't do subprime, some dealers have mentioned to me they don't want to chase stips or they don't want to, they don't want to mess around with it or whatever. But there's certainly money to be made in that. Well, I think the way that you guys are a Ford store, let's use your Grafton dealership. That let's say you sell 175 cars. If 75% are new or used, you're obviously, doing that as a business model that's profitable as an owner. That's smart, but I would say that's just as challenging. And I want to ask you, how do you do that? That's just as challenging to take 75% of the people that come in that probably would rather have something new. And how do you do that? I think that's just as challenging as having someone having a very strong subprime department, that because it takes time to cultivate, build relationships with the lenders, chase steps, whatever you got to do. So when it comes to 75% pre-owned as a Ford dealership, when some people come in there really wanting a brand new F-150, how do you do that? Where do you start that process to get that customer thinking the other way?
I think some of it's the economics of the area we're in. The family household income in the state of West Virginia is significantly lower than a lot of surrounding areas, that type of thing. So it's more an economics issue. I think, as Brittany alluded with her store during the subprime, I think subprime would do extremely well around here. It's just that we've we've kind of developed that niche and haven't had to go, too awful deep. I mean, obviously we can get some low 500 type stuff bought occasionally, that type of thing. But below that, like when we've gone into the CAC fray and that type of thing, we just have not really, generated much success from it. And I think we all find our niches. That's where there's been times where I feel like we've probably moved somebody from a new car sale to a used just because that's what we're comfortable with. Whereas, like she was saying, if they have a subprime situation, they know exactly how to deal with that. They know what kind of car to put them on, what kind of down payment they need, the steps they need. So I think that we all get caught in comfort zones of what we do well or what we've had success with in the past. And sometimes we maybe have to look outside that box and look for new opportunities as well.
That's good. Brittany, what do you say about that? I mean, I saw you nodding your head.
Unmuted here.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we all find our niches and our comfort zones, and we are really good at subprime. We are a CAC dealer. We usually are the number 1 or 2 CAC dealer for California out of our little tiny town, because that's a huge part of what we do. But I was really just kind of nodding my head at the comfort zone thing. That's something that we've been looking at, and COVID threw us all for a loop this year. And so I think looking at opportunities in areas that we're not capitalizing on, and for us, that's been looking at prime and, finding more banks. And, banks for an independent store are a big piece of how we stock our inventory also, because we get limited sometimes by not just the customers that are coming in the door, but where we're going to be able to get them bought and what kinds of vehicles and price range of vehicles that we can get bought too.
That's good. That's good. Well, and let me do this, and we're wrap it up. I know you guys you're busy, but I'm going to go to Justin. Justin, so staying on this vein of subprime, I'm curious because you're a Kia store. You said you're primarily a big new car dealership, but you're also big in subprime.
Massive.
And obviously you guys are freaking crushing it. And you're in a very good market. Is Kia a good subprime product? Is it the product? Is it the some of the specials deals they have? Does it make it easier to put some of their product in to a subprime customer? Is it your banks? Is it both? What do you attribute that to? Because that's interesting that you guys are you guys do a great job with subprime. I've known that, but talk a little bit about that too, and then we'll give you guys a round robin closing comment.
Absolutely. Now, I do think Kia has a great program. But I also think that no matter where you are, if you find the positive in every customer, so that was one thing I've always been fairly well at doing. When I went to Chevy, we did a lot of subprime there and went back to Kia. So, it's really about finding the positive thing about each customer and knowing each program with your subprime lenders and being able to put those customers there. I mean, that's so important. And not only that, but we are a new car dealer, but the benefit of a new car versus a used car is far substantial, and that could be my opinion, but you have a return customer. Typically they're more likely to return. You get service ROI. I mean, there's so many benefits in my opinion for a new car customer than pre-owned.